Hello everyone, Manathrall here, and welcome to a little bit of a review of the streams that have been going on this past week. And by golly, are these big streams. Okay, so first up, I want to go over the player-owned farms. Now, player-owned farms are going to be fantastic. Now, they do have some things where it's going to be kind of, I don't want to say repetitive, but it's not going to be, well, not even necessarily repetitive, but what it is going to be is they're going to be redesigning this area right here. Okay, so this area right here is going to be completely redesigned, and it's going to be a new farming area where you get to raise livestock, you get to have special crops, and each one's going to have, like, there's 3 categories. There's going to be happiness, there's going to be, I think, wellness and attractiveness, and there's different components to the creatures themselves, the animals themselves, eventually creatures, because they're saying about, like, all these regular animals, you know, like chicken, sheep, cows, and eventually they started going into stuff like spiders and dragons and a whole bunch of different stuff. But there's going to be different benefits to having different creatures, which is going to be a widespread thing across, you know, all your farming plots. And eventually they want to start having, like, competitions for having the healthiest or the fattest animal or the most attractive, the most beautiful animal, you know, those kind of things, like, you know, actual, you know, kind of competitions are when it comes to different farm animals. So you'll be getting different perks. Now, they didn't really necessarily say what's all going to be going on entirely with the farm, other than that, and then, like, you'll have visitors that'll come by, and you can sell your prize livestock to them, or they might be looking for a certain type. They might be looking for an adolescent sheep, you know, so they might be looking for certain things, and then you can get special exclusive rewards from it. There's like a whole bunch of things that you can gain from this, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, they didn't go over all the rewards, but they did go over some of them. One of them, the primary thing, was the magic beans. Now, they did say this is subject to change, and they do have a few more months to be able to change this. But the magic beans essentially would be, you know, for tree plots, and you would plant this magic bean, and it would go from, you know, from planting all the way up to the fully grown tree, and then you would get the XP from that. The only thing is, it would be kind of a random plant, so, well, random tree. So it's not going to be like, you know, you would get all the time an elder tree. It's just like, nah, that's not going to happen like that. It'd be fantastic, and I would hope that would happen to you guys as much as possible, but it's just not exactly the most likely of scenarios. I hate it when I get a dry dock one. But yeah, so there's that, and the best part of it all is, since it's going to be reworked, it's not going to be like the player imports right here. It's not going to be like this. It's actually going to be to the extent of, you're able to go there, you're able to interact with other players, you're able to be with other people. So it's no longer going to be this thing of, okay, you know, I'm here, but my friends are somewhere else. That's no longer going to be the instance. So keep that in mind whenever you go about to thinking about this stuff, because it's completely different than how, you know, it's currently being handled, which is absolutely fantastic. That personally makes me super happy, because then, you know, you can interact with other players while you're doing this. That's the main highlights from that. You know, there is some information I'm leaving out, some, like, artwork and stuff like that, but the main premise of what is going to be going on is there. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. There's going to be all sorts of stuff for everybody to do. Ooh, I messed up there. So do look forward to this, because it's going to add a lot more depth to the farming skill in general, let alone all the extra stuff you'll be able to do as a reward from it, with the reward system. But it's just the fact that farming is now going to be getting much needed love and attention, instead of just being the same mundane plant trees all the time. It's not going to be all about planting trees anymore, which is really, to me, the best part of it. I got so tired of that being pretty much the whole entire concept of farming, was just plant trees, plant trees, plant trees. Hey, what are you going to do? Plant trees. Or, herb lore. Planting herbs. Those are the only two real things that people were doing, is planting trees, maybe fruit trees, and then the herbs, and then that was pretty much it. Like, there's no reason for the farm ingredients, which now there's going to be a reason for these farm ingredients, because another thing that was actually mentioned, before I forget, is they're going to be able to make ultra compost, which this ultra compost is going to be used for making from the animal poop. So what you could essentially be doing is feeding your animals, regular, like the watermelons. You could be feeding them all sorts of stuff from that, and from that you'll be gaining all this produce. You'll take this produce, and then you can just, put it all into that, and then you'll be getting a lot of stuff. You'll be getting a lot of, you'll be getting a lot of, ultra compost, which is really going to help protect against diseases and this and that. Now, before I forget, there is one more thing, and I thought this was very interesting, and that is the aspect of what is. And I'm sorry, guys, I know a lot of Pokemon players out there are going to be like, well, this is a straight off rip off from it. And it kind of is, but they're going to have what they're even calling is shiny animals, which is essentially the same thing as what Pokemon has been doing for years, which is the shiny Pokemon, but they're having shiny animals. Now, what this means is that they're going to have more exclusive perks to them. They're going to be better. They're going to be more desired. And now, to top of this all off, you can actually trade and sell animals with other players, but it won't be able to be done all via the Grand Exchange. And if you're an Iron Man player, of course, you're not going to be able to trade with other people, because, well, you can't trade with other people. So that is why that is going to be happening that way. But that, like, the whole update on a grand scale is going to be really huge. It's going to be really big. I can't wait for it to come out, because I really want to experience this. Now, the next biggest thing, one that I'm really excited for too, is they're going to be doing elite dungeons. Now, this is something that Dungeoneering, to me, has been missing for a very long time. A dungeon that is not necessarily within Daemonheim. Because when it's there, you know what to expect. You know what to do. You know everything about it. There is no surprises. It's the same rooms over and over and over, essentially. Just maybe with a little bit of layout, different resources, etc., etc. But it's not too much different. Well, now, this aspect is going to add in the factor of you're going to be able to not only, go into what is called these elite dungeons, but these elite dungeons have loot that you can actually take with you. Now, this loot that you take with you is stored up in, much like the Menaphos Sophanum Slayer dungeon, which the items you occur are stored in a box at the very entrance of the the dungeon. Now, as you're going through, they have different mechanics in it compared to what we're used to, for at least for RuneScape. Now, if you're familiar with games like World of Warcraft or Elder Scrolls Online, you know that the NPCs are, they're all visible, of course, but they have a certain radius. Now, this radius is going to be a factor in the elite dungeons also. So, the thing with that is, if they are within a certain set tiles, they were saying 10 tiles, but if that's exact number for now, I don't know. If it's going to change down the road, I don't know. Now there is set stationary NPCs, but there is also patrolling NPCs. And the problem with the patrolling ones is that if they're within 10, proximity of 10 of the other one, they'll pull in the other mob too. So it's basically like playing World of Warcraft's dungeons. It's RuneScape's version of it. Now, I know a lot of people would hate that I said it like that, and I'm not comparing the two games, but this way people who are familiar with it would have a rough idea of what to expect from this, because it is encouraged to have 1 to 3 players. And of course, if you have 3 players, it's going to be a bit easier. It's not going to be quite as hard. But now if you were to have just 1 player, it's going to be extremely hard, especially after some of the clips they showed with the one boss dealing about 4k damage per hit. I mean, it was just constant. Now, probably you could run away from them, you could get away from them and avoid some of the damage. But it was intense. So you're going to have to pay very close attention if you're doing this at all. Which is fantastic. It's going to be a very hard version of, doing stuff. Now, if you die in the dungeon, you can come back, because it is not a safe death. You can come back, you can refight, or you can, go loot. You can actually use the chest to teleport to the next section, because at least the first one was the Temple of Amanishi, sorry. There's 5 bosses, there's 5 parts, so you'll be able to teleport to the most recent part. If you die halfway through the first part, you'll just have to run there. If you die halfway through the second part, you'll teleport to the end of the first part, and then you'll be able to continue on just a little bit and go on that way. But there's different lore to it, there's different a whole bunch of stuff, really. There's lore, there's mini bosses, there's stuff that's off the beaten path, which is where the lore and mini bosses usually are. If you want to try a safer route where things don't deal nearly as much damage, you can do what is called the story mode. This is where you can get all the lore you want to do and, get that kind of information down square and packed away. But it's not guaranteed you'll get anything really worthwhile otherwise. It's mostly just for the story. This way you can complete, because these are going to be considered mini quest. So with that being said, that's why they're doing it that way. But now for people who are skilling pures, right now as it stands, they're thinking about adding into combat requirements. This way people can't just, walk right in and be like, okay, now, I can get everything, let my team carry me. They might do it so you can't do that. I understand that would, it's not exactly something that you'd be happy about, but they're doing it because some of the mods especially are kind of tired of catering to the factor that some people are skillers, some people are PVMers. Some people do one thing while the other group does another thing. They're kind of getting a little tired of catering to that. And the one even said that, you chose that kind of playstyle. You chose to exclude yourself from certain content, which, why should they keep, catering to that kind of a mindset where, you can complete everything, but you don't have to actually put forth much effort. Oh, okay. Interesting. I listened to the Sea Singer and I got some extra XP. That's pretty cool. But yeah, so there's different things to really go about it. There's going to be tier, I believe they said 82 to 92 is the top tier you can get from these creatures. From the different NPCs in there. So it's going to be pretty big in that regard also. This could be very gear rewarding. Not entirely sure what it all is, but there is up to level 92 gear. The one weapon does look pretty cool. It's kind of like a halberd spear. Very sort of tribalish like ways, but it's going to be very good. And they're already having works of a second one, and then possibility of a third one come later on if people so desire and like the way the dungeons go. So it's going to be very good, very interesting. And the reason why they said they can actually kind of pound them out faster is because once they get that first one done, it has become a lot easier because they have a coding for it. They have a lot of the coding done, which the coding wasn't done before, so they had to make it all kind of from fresh. So that's why it's going to be faster now, because all they have to do is, change the art style, maybe change some of the mechanics so the creatures do different things, but the core principle is already going to be there, so it's going to be a lot easier. Now, it'll still take a little while, I'm sure, but they even said from whenever they started the first one, by the time they started the second one has been taking about half the time as far as production goes. So that is fantastic. Now, the artwork they had showed earlier, whenever I showed you guys those two pictures with the lava, I might actually have to correct myself, because they said about the one name from the one the one boss, and it did not sound like a Tzahar at all. Whether it was the Heket or Het, it did not sound like them at all. It sounded more like from the Red Axe. So it sounded more dwarven to me, at least. So I'm expecting it to be... Now I'm expecting it more to be from the dwarven area. So that's going to be quite interesting, because the dwarven area does have lava. Because that's like the main hint they gave away, plus the one name, the one part of the name, I should say. And that part of the name sounded very dwarven. Excuse me, at least to me. So that's actually a lot of fantastic news. But then also the Game Jam news that happened. Wow, was there a lot of a lot of updates that are going to be coming our way. There was even some that are getting to be done that weren't even listed in the stream that I've seen on Twitter. One of them was the key ring is going to be put onto your tool belt, and you'll be able to put your keys on there, which is fantastic. There's going to be a lot more quality of life updates. There's going to be different types of updates. Mod Mark, I guess he's been working on a different project. It's still RuneScape affiliated, Jack Gates affiliated, but it's not, with the core game, and he wanted to do some stuff, so he has some stuff in the works. He has the project's outline, but it's up to the players if they want to, so they'll probably be polling a lot of these, and it's also going to depend upon if which mods want to do these kind of updates, and when we'll be seeing them because of that. But a lot of those looked really good. They talked a little bit more about the player-owned farms, which is fantastic. But there's just going to be a lot of stuff coming our way. Some of the biggest things that stood out to me was some construction changes, like updates. There's going to be a completely reworked cooking guild where you'll be following different tiers, and you'll be upgrading your capability within the cooking guild, and then eventually you'll unlock more and more permanent rewards. Now, they didn't say exactly what, but that's going to be coming. Also, they're going to be doing more alchemized onyx items. They so far have at least 2 more down. One is the necklace, and then one is a kind of like an ultimate teleporter, where you can fuse a lot of jewelry to it, and then you can teleport around using that instead of needing all this jewelry. So that's going to be nice. The necklace is supposed to help with your Siren spells and a few other things too, but each one is supposed to be really extremely good. So there's a lot of these kind of things. There's a few more quests that are going to be coming out. Some are from Mod Osborne and Mod Raven, so you know both of those are going to be really good. The one from Mod Osborne really stuck out to me because it's going to be a hunter quest. It's going to be straight up for hunter. But what they're going to be, his plan is to have like these small kind of quests that aren't really tied to other stuff, but they'll be coming out and they'll be tied to certain skills. And those skills, he wants to have at least one per skill. And the first one's going to be a hunter. And it actually sounds pretty interesting. So I would be, way he was talking about is you had to go survive, you had to eat, drink, do those kind of things, survive, and eventually earn the attention of the one animal that lives there, and then you have to capture it. One of those kind of things, which is absolutely fantastic. There's stuff with the clan avatars, where this is Mod Shawnee, so this is going to be really good too, because he's been pumping out the hits lately too. With Mod Shawnee, he's going to be having it so that every single person essentially has a clan avatar. All you have to do is just summon it out from the pet interface. Which, speaking of the pet interface, I will get back to Mod Shawnee stuff, but Mod Mohawk is actually going to be enabling it so you can actually rotate your pets. Now, by rotating your pets, what she means is, you'll have one out, and next time you dismiss it and then go to call it, it'll be something different depending on what you put in there. Currently, she has it at around 5. She says ideally she wants to get it up to at least 10. She goes, personally, she would have liked to have it for at least one for every skill. So, approximately 28. But that's something that they can keep adding to. So that's actually pretty cool too. Also, from Shawnee, what he's going to be doing is, currently we have this issue with clans where if somebody gets out of hand, there's only two things you can really do. You can warn them and reprimand them, or you can really just kick them. Those are the only things you can really do. Well, with the update that he's doing is you can actually mute the clan member. And he goes, there's not going to be really a rough time frame. He goes, it's all up to the clan and the admins and the owners, those kind of people, the ones that are given the control over that. So that's actually going to be really good for people, because no longer will you have to click out a clanmate who's just maybe having a bad day, but the rest of the clan just doesn't need to hear it, so they get muted, and then everybody's free. And then, if you want to tell them, via private messenger, you can actually tell them through the private messenger, and then go from there. And, maybe they'll realize their actions were a bit out of hand, instead of, just saying bye-bye to that clan member. So there's just so many things coming our way with these, past few streams, and they're all coming out relatively shortly. Now, next month, the month of May, is going to be Solak, so that's going to be a big update. And then you got the first Elite Dungeon in June, you got another Elite Dungeon in July. We have player-owned farms coming this summer, potentially a 30 Elite Dungeon coming this summer. So, these are big updates. Now, there was even some more things that, some people might not have realized. And I know I covered it here on the channel with the survey about the player-owned towns. That being a potential concept, which was actually very interesting. And then there was another thing. This was actually when it came from Mod Mark, and he was saying about making shops, useful again. And he goes, some Ironmen might use them to sell off their extra goods, which with Invention you don't really need to. You just disassemble everything. So it's just like, why bother doing that? Well, with these new shops, you'd be selling stuff to them, replenishing their stocks, solving problems for them, getting XP, getting rewards. It'd be kind of like, I want to say something like Throne of Miscellanea, but it's not like Throne of Miscellanea. It's something kind of different on its own. It's like a mixture of Throne of Miscellanea, player-owned ports, and something else all thrown together into this nice little mixture. And it'd be very interesting to see, none the least. But essentially, what it would be is kind of like player-owned shops. It's kind of how it's looking to be, except you'd be trading between NPCs rather than trading between players. Which, trading between players, I mean, if you really think about it, we don't really need that. Because, well, we have the Grand Exchange. So, there's a lot of updates coming this month. Well, this coming month, and the following month, and it's a good year for RuneScape, to put it very, very simple. It's a very good year for RuneScape. We have a lot coming to us, and there's a lot more to look forward to. But that's just the entire summary so far. I mean, there's a lot of good updates to come to that I have not mentioned and covered that were in the streams, but there's just so much information. And there's even stuff that was covered, like I had said, that was off stream that I had mentioned some of it too. And that stuff was absolutely fantastic. So I can only really think of the one, but it's all really big and all really good news. So I hope you guys enjoyed this information. Feel free to discuss it with me if you heard some other stuff that you're really excited for. I love discussing about new updates. I can't wait to see a lot of these come to play. I mean, new items, new gear, new ways of doing dungeons, new skilling. Oh, and before I forget, I have to mention this one thing. This was probably by far one of my favorite things about the whole thing. They're releasing more skilling stuff. And that was even one thing with the alchemical onyx, is I believe it was with the necklace. Not only did it have, the reduced drain time of Saren prayers, it also did something that was very cool. You have a chance of getting a crystal chest, and in these crystal chests you can get something off of the rare loot drop table. And it was even said right there that you can get Hazelmir's signet from it, assuming you were wearing Luck of the Dwarves. What? That's fantastic. Think about it, guys. That means skillers will now have a way to compete with people who are doing combat. It won't just be a combat ruled world anymore. It's going to be skillers too. Skilling is finally getting a lot of love. Now, to top it off, they're going to have another thing coming with skilling. Occasionally, during certain skilling, you'll be able to find what is called these little treasure maps, if you will. Now, they're different than clue scroll maps, but these maps, what they do is they point you to what looks like currently a sinkhole. And in these sinkholes, you have loot you can go into. You can examine it. You can see about, you can peek in and see about how much is in there for as different plots go. You can actually bring a set amount of friends with you to help you loot these things. And if you see that there's only X amount of, rocks, if you bring a friend along and you say, don't touch my, this certain plot, you gotta tell them that. But if they end up touching it, just don't invite them the next time you get one of those maps. But this is going to be one of those things where it's like a big waha moment, because what they even said was your gathering rate's going to be greatly increased in there to make it more worth your while, to make it worthwhile getting these maps. It's going to be one of those things where it's really, really rare to get one, but it's going to be really exciting when you do. Which means if I'm ever skilling and I get one, I will actually announce it on Facebook and or Twitter. And then if one of you guys want to join me for these, I will gladly let you guys join in, and we could just have fun with it. I could record it this way. I'll probably record at least the first few, because I want to see what they're like. But I can actually let you guys can join in with me, and then we can do them. So again, my chat is always open to people. I always am willing to talk to people. As you can see, you know, I have a bunch of people here added, so I have no problem adding more people because all you guys are awesome, and I love making content for you. And what better way to do stuff with you guys than to actually share in the XP and the love with you guys, because this is pretty cool. So I like the fact that they're doing that, because that means there's going to be more kinds of events that I can do with you guys too, because RuneScape so far has been very one-on-one with... Aha! I see you! It's been very... I said I'm listening. Alright, well... It's one of those things where it's very beneficial and very cool, because we can start doing more community events, which is absolutely fantastic. So I hope you guys enjoyed all this information. I'm going to just keep trying to get more and more information. This way I can actually do this, give you guys more information on what's come out, what's all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to be watching Twitter a bit more often. But that'll do it for this video, so thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, later guys.